I did have one person say to a local restaurateur that, well, how's he going to run the city? He's blind. And that person said something that I thought was real good, so now I steal it. He said, you don't understand. Randy's going to use everyone's eyes. And I thought that was just a great comment.
Welcome to iAccess VO with Brian Fischler and Ed Plumacher. Making it happen with VoiceOver accessibility. And now, here's Brian and Ed.
Welcome back to yet another episode of iAccess VO. We're recording on a championship Sunday, so if this show's only 5 minutes, it's because we got to get to the games. How you doing there today, Ed?
I'm doing good, Brian. It's a good day. It's a Sunday, which is always awesome because I'm not working today, so that makes me feel better. So, and also, we're going to gang up on you because I have a fellow Long Islander on the line with us. Welcome aboard here, Mr. John Panarese.
Yeah, hello, howdy, fellas. Yeah, Sunday, no work. Great,
That's
awesome.
it. Yeah, it's been a while, John. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome back.
Oh,
But
God, Brian's going to start saying
no, we don't. That
We just lost all our listeners.
Exactly, dude. I've been told that it's now, I believe it's now New York state law that it is illegal for me to karaoke.
Is it just New York?
I don't know. With the new administration, we'll have to see. It could very well go federal. But,
yeah, that'll be the third executive order signed.
Now I got to ask you guys a question. So, I've been playing around with my iPhone, and recently I started hearing something called Side App Switcher. Have you guys been getting this on your phone?
Yeah, and there's this real funky gesture to do it that I can't do it on purpose, but I can get it to happen on accident. I don't understand. And I read it, somebody was kind to post something on the VI phone list that you have to touch a place on the left side of the screen that doesn't have an icon, and you have to flick quickly with one finger right away. And I'm like, how do you do that? How do you touch a part of the screen that doesn't have an icon? But somehow I manage to do it every so often.
I thought you could just do a 4-finger flick from right to left.
Is that might be an iPad gesture though, right?
No.
No,
This is okay. See, now we're hearing conflicting reports because from what I thought, I had no clue what this side app switcher is. I only hear it every now and then. And then somebody said what the side app switcher is it's telling you that you could do the 4-finger flick to go from app to app.
Oh, okay.
So
that makes sense.
we've had that for a while, so maybe there is some kind of different gesture. That we have to do a little more research on this then, because I've been using the 4-finger swipe between apps for a while. It's easier than yeah.
So I don't think anybody really knows what this side app switcher is because it doesn't announce it all the time.
No. See, I always thought the 4-finger swipe, I was doing it on my iPad. I didn't know it worked on the iPhone. I never thought to try it on the iPhone.
It does now work on the iPhone, but I don't know. It's worked on the iPhone for longer than this side app switcher announcement that we have. So I didn't know if this side app switcher was something new or what. So if anybody out there has a definitive answer on it, because we've heard multiple answers on this one, go ahead and email us in at iaccessvo@gmail.com or post to Twitter at iaccessvo and say, hey, this is what it's doing.
Yeah, because it's I know it's been driving you a little nutty because I really haven't heard it or really just haven't noticed it or paid attention to it.
Yeah,
so,
it happens every so often to me, and I'm like, what in the world is it talking about?
Yeah, I ignore it, but the one thing I can't ignore is lately, and everybody who listens to this show regularly knows that Siri and I are not on good terms, but this is a new one that I'm getting from Siri where I will ask it for something and I'll put my finger to the screen and it says 1 sec. Is anybody else getting this?
1 sec? Yeah.
1 sec.
Yeah, I've heard that a couple of times. I'm trying to remember what I was doing when I started laughing. I'm like, 1 sec?
I'm like, what are you too
Really?
busy helping somebody else?
Yeah. What is this? You're supposed to be working for me here, lady.
I've heard it once or twice, not too often, but I've heard it once or twice. And same as you, John. The first time I heard it, it caught me off guard, and I was like, "Huh?" And then you can't help but laugh because it's
it's just it. It's the things that she says. Sometimes I find myself like, "Huh."
I normally
Really?
press the button, and then it's followed by a bunch of expletives, and then asking her to do the same task. And
Oh, my brother is the best with that. I wish I could YouTube upload a audio of my brother with Siri and how it just slowly evolves or devolves into swearing, cursing. It's the funniest thing in the world. And I sometimes purposely will say to him, "Why don't you try to use Siri?" just to get him going.
you're an instigator.
Yes, I am.
But I think your brother and I would get along great.
Well, I always tell my girlfriend that if Siri and I were married, we would have been divorced long ago.
Well, my fear is that the cops are going to come banging at the door because of my abusive language to Siri and ask that they need to see Siri because there's been reports of domestic violence. Not that we kid about domestic violence, but you can kid about it when you're talking about Siri. And let's just say the Echo, her name, her and I also have had some harsh words at times.
Well, if they ever give the TiVo screen reader a name, you're going to have some real problems.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little later. But are either of you guys using ad blockers?
No, I have not really. I mean, I don't really have a reason to, I guess.
I've noticed more and more apps, and this drives me bonkers. You're reading an article, whether it's on Safari or within an app, and the article's reading to you, and then all of a sudden, it starts reading an ad to you. And it drives me insane in the middle of the article, and then the ad will go on for, X amount of seconds, and then you're back into the article. And I'm curious if anybody out there is using an ad blocker. One, how accessible is it? Two, does it work within apps or does it just work in Safari? Because if I could get something to block, for example, I have this Yankees app, and I had the option to pay lifetime $2.99, removed all the ads from the app, and ever since then, the app works great. I no longer hear these ads midway through an article and everything, and I would love to get an ad blocker that might block some of this stuff out.
Oh, I would love to do that for the news application. I wonder if there's a way, because some of those articles you click on in the news app, they are so filled with advertisements that it's impossible, and the reader is not available in the news app.
Even when the reader is available, they're putting these ads in now. And I was telling Brian earlier, that's what's starting to frustrate me. So I'm actually going to start exploring some third-party browsers that offer ad blocking as part of their service, because, the read-only option was great because not only would it avoid all the images and graphics and things like that with the extended, 50 numbers you had to listen to
Facebook,
get past.
Post to Twitter, post to Instagram.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But they also used to get rid of the ads, and now all of a sudden they're there, and it's like same thing. You're reading the article, boom, the ad comes on. You got to listen to the whole ad, and then it goes on with the article, and it's just it's time consuming. It takes away from my day, and I it's really annoying.
And and here's the thing about these ads. How many people actually say, "Oh wow, I think I'll use this service"? No, when you see those ads pop up, you're more or less like, "I will not buy just on principle."
Yeah. I in the old days when I could see, I never bought a product from a TV commercial, but I purposely did not buy a product because the TV commercial annoyed me.
Yeah, and that's what happens to me with these ads.
Yeah, and it's these ads that, like I said, I love Safari Reader. I know Ed's been having a lot more ad issues with Safari Reader than I have, but I use it all the time when I'm watching a television show and I want to read a recap of the show. I'll go in and I'll just go to Safari. I'll quickly just dictate and say, like Big Bang Theory, Season 10, Episode 13 recap, and it'll pull up a ton of different articles, and you tap on the article by using heading navigation, and then the reader's right there top left. I use the 4-finger tap at the top left of the screen,
right,
and it jumps me right to the reader, and I'm often reading, and the only thing that annoys me is, like I said, when you get halfway through an article and all of a sudden you're having an ad read to you. So I'm curious, hopefully those ad blockers can help with.
If anybody can let us know, I would definitely appreciate that. I wonder particularly if it works in the news app.
Yeah, I'd like to know that too. And talking about other browsers, I've been hearing a lot of good things about Chrome. Have either of you guys been playing around with Chrome a little more?
It works. It definitely works, but I'm a little, and some people will disagree with me, and I'm sure there'll be people who listen to this podcast who are going to give a little feedback. But I'm not a big fan of Google because of their abuse of privacy. And the one thing I've read in a lot of places about Google Chrome, even though Google denies it emphatically, but people have actually done different types of internet network setting tests. The browser basically phones home every hour, your browsing history and stuff like that. So if you ever noticed when you do Google searches, and the next time, like, you could put in moose food as a joke for a Google search, and then, believe it or not, you might be searching for external hard drives for your Mac, and you're going to see ads for moose food popping up.
I get that with everything now, though. You get that on Firefox, you get that on Safari. I mean, all this information is public, but
yeah, I mean, Apple at least does is really safeguarding privacy a lot, and Google doesn't even bother to deny the fact that they use that information and such. And it just, like I said, I've read stuff about Google Chrome, and I just don't trust Google with my private information. I will use Chrome when it's necessary. I don't know. People talk about Chromebox. I don't know what the big deal is about it. I think it's garbage.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, it's garbage as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Google is definitely probably the worst hoarder of information. I mean, they seem to be collecting all kinds of data. And, I'll use Chrome every now and then, but for the most part, I'm just sticking with Safari.
Yeah, I mean, Firefox is, I was really impressed because there was a time where Mozilla was really making Firefox accessible with VoiceOver, and they made some really great strides. But it seems like over the last year, maybe 2 years, they've hit this roadblock, this wall where unless you're using a machine that's really, really fast, trying to use Firefox with VoiceOver on the Mac is like, it's painful because everything's like busy. Just doing, like, let's say you do quick nav and you're navigating by headings and stuff like that. It just seems that there's always a delay for every VoiceOver command that you use. On my iMac, it's not as bad, but on my laptop computer, I just won't use Firefox.
In the PC world, where I do a lot of my work and everything, and with Microsoft Windows, I am a Mozilla Firefox user. I like it. I like
it on the PC for sure.
Yeah, I like the continuity I have with it too, because I go into the tools and options, and I'll get in there and I do a master password, and I have it saved my passwords, and then I'm able to access Mozilla Firefox from any device I log onto that way. It has all my passwords on it once that comes up, and it just makes life a lot easier. It works well on the iPhone. I use Mozilla Firefox on the iPhone as well. I will say, though, the thing that fascinated me, and this is a conversation Brian and I had, is our user base, our listeners to iAccess VO. I get to see all the statistics, and I get to see what devices are used when they download to listen to the show. I get to see which podcatchers are most popular. I also get to see which browsers are most used, and Chrome by far is the dominant browser that our blind visually impaired listeners use when they access our show. And we're not just talking like 1.5 times or 2 times. It's almost like 4 to 5 times more than Mozilla Firefox, which is the next one that appears.
You said it was Chrome was the number one?
Chrome. Google Chrome is the most popular browser by our listeners. So, and I've just been fascinated by that. And Safari is down there. So I don't know if we have Mac users using Google Chrome on the Mac. I suspect a lot of them are PC users. but are big iPhone and iPad users. So I think that's the dominant audience that we have.
Well, you know why that is we've got such a large, huge TalkBack user listenership.
That's got to be it.
That's got to be. It's interesting because I was a Firefox user back when I was on a PC in 2009, and I just absolutely hated Internet Explorer back then.
Internet Explorer, I hate.
Yeah. And, I've not used it, on the Mac because it was not, a couple years ago, it wasn't very accessible. I know they've made some strides. I'm pretty good with Safari, but I just started, using NVDA and Windows Narrator on a PC, and NVDA recommended using Firefox, so I'm starting to use Firefox on the PC again, and so far so good. It's only been a few weeks, but as I'm exploring stuff on the PC now, Firefox, anything that doesn't have me using Internet Explorer, and I haven't really played around with the Edge browser, which I'm not sure how well NVDA.
I don't think it's accessible. Is it?
I think it's with Narrator.
Oh, it is with Narrator.
Yeah, but the problem you have is Internet Explorer is no longer, it's being supported in the fact that they're doing security updates for it, but there's no more development for Internet Explorer. And the other issue we have with the blind visually impaired community is we have people out there using older versions of Internet Explorer. So I recently read an article that was posted on, I guess it was an NFB website where they said 53% of blind users still use Internet Explorer, and of those, more than half are using the older version. So, this could become a real issue within the next 12 months.
Yeah, it's a never-ending debate like our next topic. Got a great email from Greg Rhodes, and unfortunately we can't read it because it was a pretty lengthy email, so hopefully I do a decent enough job summarizing it, Greg. Greg sounds like he's a fortunate one as he's got access to a PC as well as a Mac, but he's not, I guess, great with any one screen reader. He's got VoiceOver, he's got Narrator, as well as NVDA on the PC. So the question was, if you have access to a PC and a Mac and these three screen readers, where should you be putting your time and your focus and your energy just to learn, I guess, become 100% proficient at one of these screen readers? Which one would be? Because they all have their pros and cons. So I thought I'd get your two guys' thoughts on this one.
I personally think it's situational. I think it depends on your situation as far as do you need any particular operating system for work? Is it just a hobby thing? I think if you think you can be proficient, quote unquote, with everything that's out there 100%, you got to be you got to be a super being to do that. I think that people in general, my personal philosophy is, I think that if you have the ability to use Windows and Mac and even, Linux, become as strong as you can with all of them, because I think it serves you better to be a well-rounded screen reader user. In other words, if you're going to go Mac, whatever. If your situation is you're going to go Mac, you're going to go PC, that's fine. But if you have the ability to act like Greg has to have all of those worlds, I think it just makes you a better screen reader user, and it opens up your options.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the issue with Greg is there's not a work issue here, because I believe he said he was retired, didn't he, Brian?
He may have. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so you have a situation here where he has the time. He just wants to make sure that he can access the most information, and get proficient at it. So, I agree with John in some ways. It's situational. I know anything that's goal related for going back to work, I kind of steer people more toward the PC side, because I've seen people take a lot of time, invest a lot of time and money going Mac, and I did this myself a few years ago. And then you go back to work and you find yourself back in the Microsoft and Windows environment. So it's that's 80% or more of what you're going to find in the workspace. So in that regard, I would have to lean toward Narrator and NVDA. And if you are sponsored or have funding or have the wherewithal, JAWS.
Yeah, I agree. Both of you, I thought, made some great points. I mean, everything comes down to your situation. If you're retired, you could really take the time and address one and go in kind of phases, until you become 100% confident with one of them. But you got to take into consideration your work situation. As Ed said, most offices and enterprise solutions are still using PCs. So if you are,
and I think that's actually going to be changing. I've read a really interesting article that some of these companies have actually gone to bring your own computer.
IBM has.
Yeah. In other words, if you're a Mac guy, you bring your Mac. If you're a PC guy, there's no requirement. As long as you can access whatever formats that they need for document management and stuff, and you can do that on Mac or PC. So, and now that Apple is really basically neck and neck market share wise in the enterprise sales to Microsoft, I think you're going to see. I'm not saying that Mac is going to dominate next year, but you're going to see that start to really not become as big of a, counselors are, everybody uses PCs in the workplace. I don't think that's going to be as strong as an argument as time goes on.
I know. I actually got a phone call a few weeks ago from somebody who works with New York State, and he informed me that in the state of New York, as somebody who does training and does recommendations for equipment, that I individually recommend more Macs than anybody else in the state of New York.
You do?
Yes.
So you're the black sheep, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. You can look at it that way, but as far as I'm concerned, I just look at it as the MacBook Pro as a phenomenal device. I mean, it's powerful. It's beautifully built, and
even the new one.
I'm only recommending the 2015 model still.
Okay.
End of 2015.
I haven't touched the Touch Bar one. I'm on that cusp of probably buying one in the near future, not now.
Yeah, don't do it yet because the processor is being upgraded, and I guess that the devices that are going to come out in the second half of the year, they're going to be able to upgrade those MacBook Pros to be able to run 32 gigabytes of RAM, which they can't do right now. So you might want to hold off.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that.
There's a processor upgrade coming through. So,
well, I think in summation, there's really no correct answer about which screen reader you use. It's such a unique individual thing that you got to hopefully get comfortable with one of them where you can do some basic stuff and then move on to the other. But there is no correct answer, and at least that's my thoughts on that.
Well, I think what's interesting about the three, and let's kudos to you, Brian. You put these show notes together, and the three screen readers you mentioned are all either they come free with the software operating system, or as NVDA is a free screen reader you can download. So these are economical and affordable, accessible options for people, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. One more thing about Windows Narrator, which I've been impressed with. Now we're talking about the 10-year 1-year anniversary edition, I believe it is. They're getting ready to have a major upgrade coming in the next few weeks and everything, so it'll be very interesting to see how much closer they're getting to VoiceOver, but they are getting closer. I never thought I'd use a PC again, but for some things I'm starting to have to, and I've been pleasantly surprised with Narrator, and thankfully I was able to change that NVDA stock voice to Narrator, because that stock voice for NVDA is just the worst voice.
I haven't heard it, so...
Brian Fischler, but it is just horrible, man. It's like listening to a teacher run her long nails down a chalkboard. Yeah. So, but
well, you've also been spoiled using VoiceOver for the past 7-8 years.
Yeah. Some people hate the voices with VoiceOver. I think they sound pretty close.
I think they're
to
awesome.
Yeah.
I think Alex is just. I use them on my phone. I use them on my iPad.
Yeah, so it's great, and I've been using Alex pretty much. It's funny because I have all the other ones installed, but I just stick with Alex, and it seems to work. But we actually have to let John get running because we got to make a trip to Sheboygan Falls, Ed.
Oh God, I better go out and get my long underwear.
Yeah, you better. Good luck, guys.
Thanks so much. John, before we let you get running, John, actually, you did remind me, you have some new things going on over at Mac for the Blind.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I forgot about that, too. I'm actually, as of this month, in addition to the audio tutorial series for the Mac and iOS, which I have probably close to 40 tutorials, I'm also releasing what we're calling Apple Slices. And what Apple Slices are is they're mini lessons where I kind of take, let's say, Mail on the Mac. And I do like a 5-minute lesson on how to create an account. I do a lesson on how to, create and utilize mailboxes. So I'm taking apps with specific tasks and trying to create, less than, let's say, 6 minutes of a lesson. And I'm looking for suggestions. I'm looking for, any ideas people might have for apps and what, particular tasks that they would like to have, a lesson on.
Hacking
awesome.
the nuclear defense system.
That's a special one. That you're going to have to pay a little bit more for, and you got to be on the platinum plan to be able to have access to it.
Right. So are these going to be paid tutorials, John? Or
yeah, they're under $5. They're $4.95 each. So very affordable.
And they can find those at macfortheblind.com, right?
Yes. I believe I have 6 or 8 up right now, but by the end of February, there should probably be a good 15 plus. So.
Perfect. So if you're looking for some extra knowledge, go ahead and check out John's great site, Mac for the Blind.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Good having you on again.
Thank you.
And we got to go put our coats on because it's off to Sheboygan Falls. Now we'd like to welcome in the first politician to iAccess VO. He's the mayor of Sheboygan Falls. He also happens to be blind, but more importantly, he listens to our show. How you doing today, Randy?
I am doing great.
Hey, nice to meet you, Randy. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, you as well, Ed.
Randy, what made you want to get into politics?
Well, about 19 years ago, I was minding my own business, just watching our local cable, and a council meeting came on, and I kind of went, how did these people get on the council? And one of them was a high school classmate, and I especially wondered how he got on the council. And I said to my wife, I could do a better job than these guys. And she said, well, why don't you? And then things got real serious. I happened to mention it to my barber, and he said, you should run. So next thing I knew, I was running, and some local business people supported me, and I became an older person. And then 5 years into that, I really didn't think the mayor was doing a bad job, but just thought I could do a better job. So I ran and was fortunate enough to be the second finisher in the primary and be the top finisher in the general election. And so for the last 13 years, I've been mayor of the city. I'm up for election every 2 years.
Did you say your barber pushed you over the edge to run?
Well, when you're talking to your barber and your barber gives you advice and he's got a scissors in his hand, you better listen.
or a straight razor to your throat.
Right.
What was, the town's reaction when they heard a blind man was going to run for mayor?
Well, I think 90+% of my city was fine with it because I grew up here. I was a state caliber wrestler and All-American wrestler in college, so I think I had already proven to the city that my blindness really wasn't a big handicap. I did have one person say to a local restaurateur that, well, how's he going to run the city? He's blind. And that person said something that I thought was real good, so now I steal it. He said, you don't understand. Randy's going to use everyone's eyes. And I thought that was just a great comment.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. So you, before you were mayor, though, we see you were a financial planner for 20 years. How did that work out for you? And I guess you had to rely on assistive technology because you've been totally blind for most of your life. Yeah.
Actually, when I started my first year in financial planning, it was actually easier than my last year because the assistive technology worked and the systems were simpler. And then as they came rolling out more and more, I guess, complex financial planning tools, unfortunately, a lot of those weren't accessible to me. So it almost was like I felt like in my first year it was easier. And plus, my friends at the government kept including more and more paperwork. When I started, it was one application to open a mutual fund. When I left the business, it was 4 applications to open up the same mutual fund. So really, the paperwork is what made me just say, boy, this is enough. And then I had also decided to run for assembly, it's about 6-7 years ago now. And I decided the guy that was in the assembly, our state assembly, he had nothing to do but run for his job. And if I wasn't going to compete, I had to kind of clear my decks. And I didn't think it would be fair to take, hundreds of clients through that process. So I decided for those 2 reasons to sell my practice then.
Now I have to ask, Randy, when I beat somebody in fantasy football or something, I say, wow, you just lost to a blind guy. How's that feel? When you won Mayor, did you happen to say that to anybody?
No, I usually save that for on the occasions when I beat my wife in darts. I usually say, how does it feel to lose to a blind guy in darts?
I might have to fly out there because they got a lot of local darts leagues over here, and I've never played. And so you play darts blind, huh?
Yeah, and I don't have the audible dartboard yet, but it is on my want list, my wish list to purchase. But yeah, we used to play darts, and on occasion I'd win, and I'd be like, how does it feel to lose to a blind guy? And then she'd win. I'm like, well, you beat a blind person. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. Those audible dartboards are pretty cool. I actually had the opportunity to use one a couple of years ago. We were in Florida for a RP social, and they had one at the location we were at, and it was a lot of fun.
Is that the one with the plastic darts?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No metal tip.
No.
Yeah, no metal tip darts.
Yeah, the leagues up here in New York are hardcore. They're metal tip leagues and everything. But well, as mayor, what assistive tech do you use in your day-to-day duties?
Well, the biggest thing I use on a regular basis is my Braille sense from HIMS. So for me, a Braille note taker was real essential, and I wanted to make sure I had a Braille note taker that I could take Word and Excel files and just move them over and just have it work. So all the agendas are emailed to me. Use JAWS on my regular PC computer, and then move it over to that Braille sense. iPhone is also big. Using KNFB Reader is a big part of being able to access things on the fly. And even just using some of those tools just to demonstrate to people that you really can access things is important. Sometimes perception trumps reality, so you always want to make the perception that you definitely can access everything, whether using that technology on a day-to-day basis or once in a while. I know I was on a business trip for motivational speech, and I used FaceTime with my wife for the first time because I couldn't figure out what was the shampoo in the bathroom, and I FaceTimed with her, and I learned a lesson from that. You should really have the light on when you FaceTime with someone, otherwise they can't see anything.
Also, you need to be careful if you're in the bathroom and you're doing that with a stranger because they could see you in the mirror.
No, I'm way past the time I want a stranger to see me like that. Yes.
There you go. So basically, with using the JAWS on the PC side, then do you also use some kind of OCR scanning software for scanning documents and having it read to you as well?
Yeah, I use Kurzweil, and that's been just a real important piece of technology I've used over the years. And it's funny, when I first started on the council 19 years ago, I was the only one that was getting the agenda packets emailed. And now today everyone's getting them emailed, and we're looking to go to a tablet, iPad or Android tablet system where everyone would just get everything on their tablets, and we wouldn't have to print out anything anymore. Some communities have went to it. I just, of course, have to make sure, not only for me, but just in general, I think it's a good idea that we make sure things are accessible as we implement new technologies. So that's what we're researching into right now, just to save everyone time. But often when you come up with solutions, quote, for the blind, they end up being solutions that are actually better for everyone.
Yes, and I bet you, like having worked as a financial planner, your ability to work with spreadsheets and everything is probably very advantageous for you then as mayor for reviewing budgets and documents and things like that.
Yep, we do our budget on an Excel spreadsheet, and lots of things come on Excel spreadsheets. And even when we work with our financial advisors at Baird for the city, they'll send a PDF thing, and I'll go, do you guys have this like in a spreadsheet? Oh yeah, we can send you that. So a lot of times if you just ask the question, it is available, but it's not the way they generally send it out to the public.
Now, you also are a guide dog handler. So as mayor, has any restaurant ever refused you service or Uber refused you a ride?
I've never been refused a ride yet. I've never been refused at a restaurant. I did have a couple question me. One time I was in Illinois, and they were saying, you can't have that dog in here. Dogs have to be on the patio. And I just looked at the gal. I said, no. He's definitely allowed in here. He's a guide dog, and that's the law. And I must have had this expression on my face like, I'm really not in the mood today. It's 95 degrees out. And she said, are you sure you don't want to sit on the patio? I said, yeah, I'm really sure I don't want to sit on the patio. And then she asked someone else, and they said, like, oh, yeah, absolutely, that dog can be in here. So I think maybe my size and just my direct manner, people just go, oh, okay. And then I was questioned at one Burger King restaurant in Sheboygan, of all places, that they wanted to see my paperwork for the dog. And I explained to them as I handed over my little ID, I said, technically, by law, I don't have to give this to you, but I am. But I'm telling you this so that if you ask the next blind person and they tell you they're not showing it to you, you know exactly what's going on. It's legal. And the person goes, no, sir, I'm telling you, we're a restaurant. We can ask for this. And I said, no, sir, I'm on the board of Occupause, and I'm telling you cannot, but I'm showing it to you. And then another manager came up, and he said, oh, no, that dog's fine. But it turned out what happened at Burger King is they had a dog in there was supposedly some type of service dog, and it caused problems. And unfortunately, I'm seeing that more and more at places when you talk to the owners or managers and you let them know you're there to just talk with them, not get them in trouble or question how they made decisions. More people are bringing their dogs into places that untrained, non-service dogs don't belong.
And people will claim they're service dogs. I met a woman just last week who was trying to impress me. I don't know why she thought it would impress me, and she was like, oh, well, I tell people my dog's a service dog all the time, and I explained, thank you for making my life more difficult. But I have to imagine, as a mayor who happens to be blind, you've had at least one very bizarre experience. What can you share with us as some of the more memorable things that stand out?
Well, Jim Rohn says there's 10 unpleasant people, but they move around a lot. So one of these very unpleasant people that we had lots of dealings with from the city standpoint, I was meeting with him with another older person, and he was demanding some stuff, and the meeting got kind of heated, and all of a sudden he said, yeah, that's why a blind person shouldn't be mayor.
That ruined his
And I looked at him. Yeah, and I just looked at him, I said, you feel free to run against me and my blindness anytime you want. And this person was so goofy, he actually talked to the police chief afterwards, and he said there was case law that said blind people shouldn't be mayors. So it does happen occasionally. And just recently I was meeting with a human resource person in a company in our city, and the person just made a comment that on a Habitat for Humanity project, it would be funny to see the mayor swinging a hammer. And I said, well, you should have been over at my house yesterday then. And then the meeting became about how I could use a hammer. And I said, well, no one was using a hammer. I was up on the roof. So I just told our city administrator, I said, boy, it's been a long time since someone that, should know better has been that insulting to me. But I did control my old wrestling instincts, and I did not put him in a headlock for his ignorance.
That would end up probably on social media. Mayor puts businessman in a headlock. That may have got me more votes. You never know, right?
That's true. In this day and age, with the way politics are going, you never know.
Right. Everything's unpredictable now.
13 years as mayor, you must be doing something right.
Yeah, the biggest thing I do is if people have a issue in their own backyard, I call it putting boots on the ground. I'll just go and walk the problem in their backyard or front yard, wherever it is, and talk to them and things like that. So I think my blindness makes me more willing to show up on scene and look at things and not just assume I know what it's all about because I've driven by that place 100 times.
Right. Well, as long as you don't go out looking for sinkholes, you'll be okay.
Right.
Now, you had mentioned to me that you love the segment "What's Pissing Off Brian," so I have to ask you, what's pissing off the mayor?
Well, thanks, Brian. I'm glad we could bring this up. I think the biggest thing that's pissing off the mayor, and this is just in general, is just being able to change people's attitudes that blindness isn't some horrible thing that happens and it's something you can't live with. And I remember when I ran for assembly, like half my article about me running for assembly was about me being blind. Even though there's other people in other states that are in their state assembly that are blind. There's a recently elected lieutenant governor who's blind. So that's the biggest thing that annoys me out there is when people just simply act like you can't do something because you're blind. And probably the biggest one that, well, I think it's funny, it pisses off my wife, is that from time to time we'll be at places and people will say, "Oh, what does your son want?" Well, we're the same age, and trust me, I'm a foot taller than I do not look like your son, but it's just this kind of subconscious thing that goes on in people that they feel like if you're out with someone that must be your mom or it must be your brother, because, gosh, blind people don't have wives and friends and lives, right?
and you can't communicate for yourself, so they have to speak to whoever you're with.
Right.
It's interesting. We're recording this, so I guess I have an article that I was asked to write for an anti-bullying campaign, which will be out by the time this show comes out. Anyway, and it was, I guess, the concept is words hurt too, so it was 10, what are the 10 things not to say to a blind person, and in that was talking to people as if we're not there was one of them. It's just like, I'm sitting right here, oh, what would he like to order for dinner? No, I'm right here. Believe it or not, I order my own food. I don't cook my own food, but yeah, it's just, some people, they just will never get it.
Or I was at a restaurant one day and this lady goes, "Oh, didn't you used to have a yellow dog?" And I just wasn't in the mood that day, so I just said, "Different person." And she's like, "Oh," and she felt really stupid. Some days you're in the mood just to laugh it off, and other days it's like, I'm already having a long day. I'm just not going to deal with this today. So.
Well, you could have just gone, "Oh my God, I have the wrong dog."
The two blind people in the town switched dogs.
I think my all-time funniest thing that ever happened to me is when I started in financial planning. I lived in Green Bay and was out with some guys for one of my coworkers' bachelor parties, and I didn't really know any of these guys, so I'm like, okay, I'm taking my white cane with me just in case I get completely separated. And I took the folding cane and I tucked it through my belt, and I didn't really think anything of it. Till we're at this place, and this guy kind of got in my face. He goes, "Why do you think you have to carry nunchucks?" And I honestly thought he was someone else from the bachelor party just trying to give me a hard time. So I kind of snarled something that we won't repeat back to him. And the guy goes, No, I'm serious. So then I go, "I'm blind. It's a white cane." The guy's like, "Oh, gosh, I feel stupid now."
I like the fact that he admitted it, That's great. That's great. What would you like to see from assistive technology in 2017? Anything that you might like to see?
Well, I would really like to see a multi-line braille display. I'm excited to see what this BliTab ends up being. That would really excite me to see a multi-line braille display where you can see more than one line of text. And right now, the BliTab, they're talking about a $500 item. So we'll see if all these liquid bubble things really work. That's probably the biggest frustration when you're blind, is you just don't get to put your hands on this technology nearly as much as you'd like to.
Well, because it's not like mainstream items, so it's unless you're at some kind of a special event, like I think the BliTab was displayed at CES, where you can get your hands on it, or you go to like CSUN in the end of February this year, where you get a chance to see that stuff. I mean, you're not going to find it in Sheboygan Falls that readily, and even in New York areas here, we don't necessarily stumble upon that unless you go to some kind of really well-equipped tech center.
Right, and to be on the cutting edge of everything is tough to do. Like I have a Focus 14 Blue display that I use with my iPhone, but it's still not. I just feel like I can use it in a pinch instead of a note taker, but it's still not as user friendly as using a note taker to take notes at things. You're always it feels like you're always working harder to take your notes because you're trying to make sure you're using the note taking program correctly on the iPhone. So that would be another thing I'd really like to see, a really well integrated program. Access Note was kind of a tiny step in that direction, but there has to be some way of doing that better.
Yeah, there really is. But, well, this was a real treat for us, Randy. Hey, like I said, our first politician on the show. You've got my vote, but I guess I'd have to move to Sheboygan Falls for that vote to matter.
There's always room for you, Brian.
The wide open spaces, Brian.
You could move here, Brian, and then you could run for mayor next, so we'd have 2 blind mayors in a row.
That'd be interesting, but the only problem is I have a yellow lab too, so people. Our former mayor had a yellow dog.
Are you the same guy?
Are you him? Oh, gosh. Good fun, man. Now, you got a great sense of humor, and, hey, it sounds like you're doing some really, really interesting things, and this was a real treat. When you reached out to us the first couple times, we were like, wait a minute. Is this guy really the mayor? So we obviously looked it up just to confirm, and hopefully we won't have to fire our researchers for getting that wrong.
No, and besides, Brian just loves to say Sheboygan, so he was like, yes, let's have the mayor on, because I love to say Sheboygan Falls. And besides that, Brian is an unofficial cheesehead.
Cheese. Good. Now, before we let you go, one last question. You know the only kind of bad cheese, Randy, right? Expired cheese.
Expired.
Randy, good luck to your Packers, man. Have a good day.
I love it. Look forward to the podcast, guys. Thank you.
Awesome, Randy. Thanks.
You're listening to Brian and Ed on iAccess VO.
Boy, a mayor for 13 years, and that makes me feel like I've accomplished nothing, Ed.
No, I got to tell you, they're very impressive. Randy's been an early listener of our show and has sent us several emails in the past, and it was great to finally get a chance to get a conversation with him, get him on, and share his story with our listeners. I mean, here is somebody who really has paved the way in the world, and he's been pretty much totally blind since he's 2 years old, and nothing seems to stop this man. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's an unstoppable force, and but Ed, it seems like it's been so long since it's been just the two of us, but now that it's just the two of us, I get to let you know what's been pissing Brian off now.
Why, is it me?
Almost everything except you.
Oh, okay, good.
Because we got a few this week.
Brian, you always have a few during the week. We've only been airing one at a time here on the show, so Go ahead, my friend. Cut loose.
Well, first I got to start off with the TiVo screen reader, because I was quick to give them compliments. I even sent them a lengthy email talking about how great they were, and but there is room for improvement. Well, They finally updated their software, first time since they had the screen reader, and they broke the screen reader. They broke descriptive video playback. They broke all accessibility shortcuts.
I hate when that happens.
Oh, yeah. I was all over TiVo on Twitter. But the good news, in 2.5 days, they had it all fixed, Ed.
Yes. I remember you sent me a text at night and saying, guess what happened? They broke accessibility. And I was like, I'm not surprised because it does happen in the beginning. But I'll tell you what, that was pretty quick turnaround because you said you contacted them. You were a little worried about how long is this going to take. And they said it would be quickly resolved, and apparently it was.
Yeah, I said, well, when you say quickly, are we talking weeks or months? They said, we can't tell you how long, but it's going to be very quick. It's a top priority here. The engineers are aware of it. And, you hear that sometimes, and you never know. It's just the not knowing and everything. Really have to give them credit again. Getting that fixed in 2.5 days was pretty impressive. And you know what's working now, Ed, also, and I don't know if this is something they fixed, is you can't access the Netflix app, but the one thing you can access now, if you do a search for anything on the TiVo for any of Netflix shows, you can pull them up, you can get them playing on the TiVo, and you can get them playing with the descriptive video tracks, Ed.
Good. That's something that, you know what, it's not the perfect way of doing it, but it's a good workaround for now. It works.
Yeah. You know what else is pissing me off, Ed?
Okay, this is 2, Brian. Come on.
Facebook.
What's going on with Facebook?
The last 2 Messenger updates, and now this is interesting because I've been reading on the list. It has not affected everybody, but of course it's affected me. Tons of unlabeled buttons, Ed. So if you have not updated your Facebook Messenger in a while, do not update it to 10 point something. I don't know the exact ... numbers, but Facebook Messenger, for a lot of us, has a ton of unlabeled buttons in it. Yes, you can figure out what the buttons are.
Oh, wait a minute, Brian. Let me correct you there, because the buttons are labeled. They say button.
Ah, that's true. They are labeled, just not they're not very usefully labeled.
Good point. Wow. I don't have that issue because I still stick to my old adage. I used to have one app that I did not update on a regular basis, and that's Facebook. And now after you told me this, I did not update Messenger as well. So if I have to do it that way, I'll do it that way. But because this morning I had 39 apps to update, and I updated 37 of them, and I did not update Facebook, and I did not update Messenger.
Obviously you don't have Grubhub because we never update Grubhub.
No, I don't have Grubhub. I don't use Grubhub. It's
I live by the Grubhub.
Yeah,
the old version. But you know what, Ed? There's more that's pissing me off.
Oh God, we have a laundry list here. Keep going.
I do. My rotor, it just out of the blue went back to factory settings.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's all about. You mentioned that to me, and that has not happened to me, and I would find that quite annoying because I used the rotor a lot, and it took me time to decide what I wanted to use, what I didn't want to use, and if I had to go back in there and reset all that, I would find that very aggravating.
Yeah, and you know what I noticed? As I was resetting everything, and this is the frustrating part, I would select links. And then all of a sudden I'd go and links was unselected. It's like it has a mind of its own. It's like there's a ghost in there, and it's like messing with me or something. But so I eventually got everything set, but I had to do it in stages. And I actually like to reorder things because I like it to go links, then headings, then vertical navigation. I like my tables to come next to rows. I like my sound for my voices to be next to speaking rate. I'm anal like that, but so it took me a while. It was very frustrating, and there seemed to be a ghost, like I said, in there manipulating things or something.
So do you like using vertical navigation? I did activate that and use it a couple of times, but I found it annoying. It was almost like counter to what I was accustomed to.
In certain apps, for example, the Yahoo Fantasy app, it's great to just flick down and go from player to player. Instead of right to left. Like if you go right to left, it'll be the player, then edit, then the next player. So it saves you, but you can only do it X amount of times before you run into like the header at the bottom. So then you do have to, pull the screen up and everything. You wish vertical navigation would continue going through the list of players. So at times I do find it useful, but it's very specific at times when I.
So it sounds like it's more useful if you're dealing with long lists.
Exactly.
A long list of text and not necessarily links and things like that. That's good. I have to remember that.
Yeah, no, I find it very useful. I love vertical navigation. And while I love vertical navigation, Ed, there's still one more thing that's pissing me off.
Wait a minute. We already had the hat trick. We're still going?
Oh, this is, I don't know what they call 4, I don't know. Is there some... I don't know, the Core 4, with the Yank, I have no idea what this is, but, and this is, it's AT&T, Ed. For years, I've been paying for that unlimited data plan, and I've been paying a lot for it, and now they're hiking the prices even more for no reason.
Oh, you're talking about a data plan? The show notes you sent me, it said date plan. So I thought this was some kind of matching service or something.
Are you letting people know that I don't pay attention to spelling in our show notes?
No, I'm just.
How did I spell
trying
Sheboygan? I know you want to tell the listeners.
I know you know how to spell it now because we covered it a little while ago.
Sheboygan.
There you go. Awesome. You remember too. But yeah, I mean, you're one of the, I do know a handful of people like yourself who have the legacy unlimited data plans. And, I don't know. I don't have it, so I'm not missing anything with it. And I have a very large plan, but unfortunately, one of my daughters likes to eat up all my data. But still, it's something that you've had for a long time. So I guess it's going to be hard for you to give it up.
I'm now going to actually have to consider it because I'm paying like $4,000 a month for this unlimited data plan, and now they're adding another $5, so it's now $4,005. But I'm going to have.
Well, wait a minute. You're not paying $4,000 for the unlimited data plan. You're only paying like $80 for that. You're paying $3,920 for all the texting and messaging because it's not included.
Yeah, exactly. I know I'm getting screwed somehow, so I've got to actually go in and look at what I'm really paying for. Because I don't use a lot of things, so maybe I can find a way to make that cheaper. So that way, maybe after 8 months of saving up, I could buy those Apple EarPods, which are ridiculously expensive. But
yeah, so I just want to cover 1 second, just get back to your rotor situation for a second, because I don't know what causes that and what causes some devices to have issues and other devices not to have issues. And I think I told you that I've been seeing a couple of my students would show me their iPhones, and the situation they had was, you go in and you change the font size, and they were very accustomed to the large font size, and it made it easier for them to read their phones because they're low vision. They specifically bought the larger 6 or 6S phones or 7 phones for that purpose. And all of a sudden, the large fonts, even though the settings are still set the same way, nothing has changed, it's a small font size again on the screens. And it's not my phone, so I really couldn't spend tons of time doing it. I'm just scanning it quickly to try and see if I could help somebody with that. I could not find a solution. So if any of our listeners are seeing an issue with that, or have found a solution for that, or know what's going on with that, please email us at iaccessvo@gmail.com and let us know if you have a tip or a solution or any information regarding that, or even give us a call at 732-660-8641, because this is an issue that I'm running into, and I'd love to know why that's happening, and if they know why your rotor situation is occurring, let us know.
The only explanation for this mystical behavior is that it's the ghost of Steve Jobs. So, and you forgot, you're having a ghost of Steve Jobs situation that you forgot to mention as well, with your phone mystically turning off.
Well, that's what I was saying to you with this situation. It's like, I don't know what's going on, but sometimes, I'll get up in the morning and I can tell my phone has restarted overnight because right away. Yep, because right away you go to get in and you can't use the fingerprint. You have to type in your code, which means the phone had restarted at that point. And it's like, what's causing that? What's doing that? Are there some kind of updates going on with Apple that we're just not aware of, and things are being pushed through? I don't know.
Steve Jobs. I'm telling you, I'm onto something here with the ghost of Steve Jobs.
Could be. We'll have to check it out. I'd be more concerned if I was Apple management at this point, because I'm sure there's a lot of things going on with this company that he is not happy with.
Yeah. Mainly that he has 10 styluses, and
I think I told you, I read something the other day that the new iPhone 8 may have a stylus situation going with it. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, but the good news is they'll add an extra $150 price to the phone for that stylus.
Yeah, and then the stylus itself will be $150. So there's an extra $300 for Apple's bottom line. You got it.
But amazingly, one thing that's not pissing me off is Google. That's a first.
Yeah, usually that's the topic that really gets you going. So what's going on with that?
Well, you sent me this interesting article about the first blind man took a little drive in his Google self-driving automobile.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that. I actually shared and posted it a few times on some different groups that I'm associated with on Facebook. But the gentleman from Austin, Texas, the first blind man to independently get into a Google car that it was not equipped with a steering wheel, was not equipped with any pedals. And he got to drive around Austin, Texas, through all the different neighborhoods and different things like that. And he said it was very liberating and exciting.
Yeah, you know what sucks though is now he doesn't have the Google car anymore. So
yeah, talk about a teaser, huh?
Talk about what's pissing him off. He had a Google car for one day.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, this technology would have to be out there, robust and readily available for me to consider to move outside of the New York metro area. So Randy, love Sheboygan Falls, would love to visit it someday, but I'll need my Google car if I ever want to stay there for an extended period of time, because I don't know if my bank account could handle all the Uber transportation I'd have to use in an area like that.
Yeah, my question is, I wonder how these Google self-driving cars are going to interact with the yellow taxi cabs in New York City.
It'd be bumper car wars.
It's going to be interesting. At least, what's that Chinese proverb? May you live in interesting times.
Well, one of the interesting things I've seen, and I don't know if it was discussed in this article or another one I read recently about that as well, whereas there's a lot of talk about not only these cars having the ability to be autonomous, but they're they're looking to have this entire network of all these cars that are on the road communicating with one another. So this car will be able to tell your car, I'm braking, you need to brake too.
What they're calling that?
What?
A hacker's dream.
Well, that's one of the issues, That's two things I read about hacking was, A, this is a potential for it, and B, I've recently read that pacemakers are now susceptible to hacking, which...
what a great world we live in. I hope you were never mean to anybody that was really good with computers. If you were, you're screwed.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's the whole world is crazy. The whole world is upside down. I don't know what's going on anymore.
It's cats and dogs living together. Yes, the other day I came home and Nash was cuddling with a cat. I mean, come on, what's going on?
Yeah.
So hard to believe. We haven't given the phone number while you're looking it up. We haven't gotten any reviews in a while. So go on into your podcast player, the Apple native podcast player. You have to go to the search tab, do a search for iAccess VO, click on us, then find the review button, do a one-finger double tap on that, and leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. We've gotten some nice ones so far. We haven't asked for any in 2017, but in doing so, you help us bump up the charts there in the iTunes store, so we do appreciate all those stellar reviews. And if, you want to talk to us, you can call us. Ed, what's that number there?
Yeah, 732-660-8641. And don't forget, I know we mentioned the Twitter feed a lot, but we're also on Facebook at iAccessVO. So hit us up on Facebook as well. We post all our new episodes there, and we do also post a directory page where you can have access to all of our older episodes, because believe it or not, we do have some people that send us emails and say they love binge listening. So
are we on Tinder?
No, we're not on Tinder. We're on TuneIn.
TuneIn. Not okay. So
Tinder's what you do on your personal life, Brian.
I am not a Tinder member, but I have enough depression in my life. I don't need people swiping me away or what, saying no. But so what number is this?
This is number 34, my friend.
Unbelievable. Before you know it, we'll be hitting our 40s, but
yeah.
Well, this is a fun one, they're all not so much fun, but this was a real fun one, and I guess for now, unless you got anything else?
No, I just want to say it was great to have Mr. John Panarese back on. I wish him luck with his his apple slices. I think that's a great concept. It works well. I've worked with that myself in the past, and hopefully he'll do well. And it's a great service. People need to have good resources, because I know you recently have been delving into NV Access's NVDA, and you were kind of shocked at the limited number of resources out there. So it's always good when we find good resources for things.
Yeah, we have to remind John that we do get 50% of everything he makes from there, right?
I thought it was 75.
Was it 75? Okay.
Yeah.
John, 75%. And for now, we are out.
You have been listening to iAccess VO. If you'd like to contact us with ideas and suggestions for future podcasts, please email us at iaccessvo@gmail.com or visit our website at www.accessquest.org.